Imagine a moment where your entire world, built on love and sacrifice, comes crashing down. A moment where the very foundation you believed in crumbles, not with a bang, but with a smug smirk and the scratch of a pen. This was Jennifer's reality. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from the stark finality of it all. Across the table, Henry, the man she'd given everything to, leaned back, smirking as if he'd just won the lottery. He tapped that pen, signed the divorce papers with a flourish, and chuckled. Finally, I'm free from your dead weight. The room fell silent. You could almost hear a pin drop. And then the judge cleared his throat. Before we proceed, he began, there's one more financial detail to read. With each word that followed, Henry's smile didn't just fade. It shattered, because Jennifer wasn't walking out broke, defeated, or heartbroken. No, my friends, she was about to walk out richer than he could ever dream of being. How did this quiet woman, dismissed as dead weight, turn the tables so dramatically? How did she go from being a shadow to a silent storm? Stick around, because her story isn't just about revenge. It's about reclaiming your power. Jennifer met Henry when she was just 22, young, full of love, and brimming with a belief in building a shared future. From day one, she poured everything she had into supporting him. Henry had these grand dreams of starting a tech company, and Jennifer, she was right there, his unwavering partner. She had her own dream, to launch a fashion brand, but she put it on hold. Why? Because she truly believed helping him succeed was more important. She worked tireless hours at the bank, came home to cook and clean, and still managed to be his biggest cheerleader. Remember when they couldn't even pay the rent? Jennifer didn't complain. She quietly sold her jewelry piece by precious piece just to keep them afloat. She thought this was what true love looked like. This was what being a partner meant. If he rises, we rise together, she thought. She didn't feel weak for sacrificing. She felt she was doing the right thing. She trusted that all her love, time, and effort would one day come back to her. But here's the twist. While she was lifting him up, Henry was slowly, quietly forgetting who helped him climb. Crazy, right? It's like some people forget the ladder they used once they reach the top. But here's the crucial part. Even then, Jennifer kept her eyes wide open. She stayed quiet. She watched, and she remembered everything. Henry's app became a hit, and everything changed for him. News channels called. Big conferences invited him. Money poured in. People started treating him like a star. But as his world exploded, Jennifer's presence in it shrank. The man who once held her hand in public now walked ahead, as if she didn't exist. He stopped calling her his wife at parties, introducing her as someone who just helps around. No one knew she'd stayed up late, countless nights, helping him build that dream. No one knew she'd given up everything for him. To them, she was just part of the background. Someone who brought drinks, smiled politely, and stayed quiet. It hurt deeply, but Jennifer remained silent. She watched him laugh loudly with new friends, pretending she was never part of his story. And then, one evening, she heard something that cut deeper than anything before. In front of a group of his friends, Henry actually laughed and said, "Jennifer, she was just a phase." They all laughed with him. No one looked at her face. No one saw the pain in her eyes. She stood there, holding a tray of snacks, feeling smaller than ever, invisible. The man she loved, the one she'd believed in, acted like she was just someone passing through his life, someone he'd outgrown. He didn't see her sacrifices, her strength, her love. He only saw someone who no longer fit his new world. But Jennifer didn't scream. She didn't cry in front of them. She just took it all in, every word, every laugh, every moment he made her feel like nothing. She stood still, but inside something had begun to shift. Her heart was breaking, yes, but behind that pain a quiet fire was starting to burn. Jennifer was slowly waking up. She was remembering who she was before she gave everything up for him. And this time she wasn't going to disappear. One night, Jennifer couldn't sleep. Henry had come home late again and gone straight to the living room for a phone call. She didn't mean to listen, but his voice was loud. Something in his tone made her stop in the hallway. She heard him laughing with a friend, and then he laughed again and said, "Jennifer, please, she's sweet, but I deserve better now. A woman who matches my level." For a moment, Jennifer stood, frozen. Her heart didn't break loudly. It cracked in complete silence. She waited for tears to fall apart, to scream, but none of that happened. She just stood there, a ghost in her own home. Then, slowly, she turned and walked to the small room that used to be her creative space. 6 years since she last opened that laptop. 6 years since she gave up her dream of being a fashion designer. 6 years since she put Henry first in everything. That night, she dusted it off and turned it on. She found the folder, Dream Designs by Jennifer. Her old sketches appeared, bright colors, bold shapes, beautiful ideas. Her past looked back at her, untouched, waiting. And for the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to smile. Not a smile of happiness, but one of quiet power. That folder was the real her. Whoa, talk about a comeback. This isn't just about designing clothes. This is about redesigning your entire life. It makes you wonder what forgotten dreams are sitting in your dusty folders. For the next 18 months, Jennifer lived 2 lives. By day, she was the quiet wife, keeping things normal. But every night, when the house fell silent, she opened her laptop. She sketched, watched tutorials, and learned how to build a fashion business. She didn't tell anyone. She was rebuilding the dream she once buried, moving with purpose, her heart full of quiet determination. She even chose a new, powerful name for her brand, ABN Studio. She started a small online store, and slowly, surely, people began to notice. Orders poured in. Comments praised her unique styles. All this while she still played the role of the quiet wife. Meanwhile, Henry started a podcast, often making jokes about women trying to start companies. These so-called female founders, he'd laugh. Most of them are just playing dress-up. Jennifer would sit in the corner, pretending to scroll through her phone, listening to every word. He had no idea the woman he was mocking was quietly building something bigger than he could ever imagine. Sometimes his words stung, but she used that pain as fuel. Each time he looked down on women like her, she worked harder. She wasn't building a brand for revenge. She was building it to prove to herself that she still had value, that her voice still mattered. And the best part? He had no idea. Every time Henry walked past her without noticing, every time he laughed at his own jokes, Jennifer kept her calm. She didn't need him to see her, not yet, because soon the world would. And when that day came, it wouldn't be loud. It would be silent, just like how she started. But this time the silence would speak louder than all of Henry's words. One afternoon, Jennifer decided to surprise Henry with lunch at his office, just like in the old days. But when she arrived, Henry wasn't there. His secretary was. Jennifer had seen her before, but never spoken directly. The woman looked up, surprised, then smirked. Her baby bump was clearly showing. Before Jennifer could even ask anything, the woman laughed. "You're the wife?" she said. "Wow, he told me you were just his sick cousin." Jennifer's heart sank. That one sentence was a slap? Not just from the woman, but from the man she had given everything to. The long nights, the sacrifices, the love, and this was his return. Lies, betrayal, and now a baby with another woman who didn't even know the truth. But even in that shattering moment, Jennifer didn't raise her voice. She didn't cry or argue. She just looked at the woman, nodded once, and turned around. She walked out of that office with slow, steady steps. Not because she was weak, but because something inside her had finally broken. Not her heart, but the shell that had been holding her back for too long. As soon as she stepped outside, she took a deep breath, pulled out her phone, and called her lawyer. Her voice was calm. "It's time," she said. This moment wasn't the end of her. It was the beginning of her finally choosing herself. She didn't need more proof. She had seen enough. Henry had lied, cheated, and thrown away everything they had built. But now it was her turn. She wasn't going to beg, cry, or ask him why. She was done. The woman he thought would never leave had already started walking away. When Jennifer filed for divorce, Henry thought he'd already won. He strutted around, telling friends she'd come crawling back, begging for help or money. He laughed at the idea of her surviving without him. In his mind, she was still the quiet wife, without a life outside of him. He even planned to reject her alimony claim to teach her a lesson. But what Henry didn't know was that Jennifer had been preparing for this moment. For 18 months, she worked in silence, building her business under a different name, a name Henry never cared to ask about. While he mocked women entrepreneurs, Jennifer became one of the country's most successful, all without him noticing. On the day of the divorce hearing, Henry walked in like he owned the place, a smug look on his face. He whispered to his lawyer, "Just get it done. She has nothing." But when the judge asked Jennifer's side if there were any financial details to declare, her lawyer handed over a thick file. Inside were bank statements, income records, and official documents showing ownership of a fast-rising fashion company, ABN Studio. The company was already doing brand deals, had investors, and was recently valued at $18 million. The name shocked everyone. Henry blinked in confusion. ABN Studio? It sounded familiar, like something he'd heard in passing, but never paid attention to. And then it hit him. The woman he thought was just sitting quietly at home was behind a growing empire. The woman he thought would be nothing without him had become something far greater than he ever expected. Jennifer didn't look at him with anger or smirk. She just sat there, calm and proud. For her, the divorce wasn't a loss. It was her doorway to freedom. It wasn't the end of a sad story. It was the beginning of her new one. She had walked away from pain, betrayal, and disrespect, and stepped straight into power, purpose, and success. She didn't need his money. She didn't want anything from him, because she already had everything built by her own hands. And the best part? He never even saw it coming. She looked at him and said softly, "It always was. You just never asked." That moment hit him harder than anything else. For years she'd been beside him, silent, invisible, forgotten. But the whole time she had been building something powerful. He never once noticed. He never asked about her dreams. He never believed she could do something on her own. Now, in front of everyone, he had to sit and listen to the success story of the woman he had laughed at, ignored, and betrayed. 6 months after the divorce, Henry sat alone in a waiting room, fidgeting. A business meeting was running late. Bored, he picked up a magazine. He flipped through it casually, then froze. On the cover was a photo that made his heart skip a beat dot. It was Jennifer, dressed in elegant African fashion, standing tall, radiating confidence. She looked nothing like the woman he'd once ignored. The headline read, Africa's most mysterious fashion queen revealed. Meet Jennifer, the silent storm. He stared, frozen in shock. The article promised the story of the quiet woman who built a fashion empire without the world noticing. Until now, it spoke of a BN studio, launched in multiple countries, featured in global fashion weeks, praised for blending tradition with modern style. Henry blinked, still in shock. He never imagined she could rise this high, not without him, not in silence. And yet here she was, not just successful but celebrated, not just surviving but shining. Meanwhile, in another city, Jennifer calmly zipped her suitcase in her hotel suite. She'd just finished speaking at a major women's leadership event and was heading to Paris for a fashion showcase. Her assistant walked in with the same magazine, smiling. You've seen the cover, right? Jennifer chuckled softly, then looked out at the city skyline. She whispered to herself, they thought I was quiet, but I was just focused. It wasn't about proving anyone wrong anymore. It was about proving to herself that she had always been enough. That silence didn't mean weakness. It meant discipline, focus, power. And now the world finally knows her name. Not as someone's wife, not as someone's shadow, but as her own person, Jennifer, the woman who rose from silence and became a storm no one saw coming. Jennifer's journey reminds us that true power often lies not in what you shout, but in what you quietly build. If her story ignited a spark in you, a desire to reclaim your own dreams and step into your power, then you're ready for the next step. We've got another video on this channel that dives even deeper into turning your challenges into triumphs and finally pursuing that dream you've put on hold. Click here to watch it now and start writing the next powerful chapter of your life.